There's a kind of forgotten knowledge hiding in plain sight. It's tucked away in dusty government archives, printed on yellowed paper and old civil defense manuals from the Cold War. Now, this isn't about conspiracy theories or secret bunkers for the elite. It's about practical, life-saving engineering that our own government once taught its citizens. Back then, the threat was nuclear fallout, but the solutions they engineered were designed for a world where the power grid was gone, supply chains were broken, and you were on your own. It was a time when self-reliance wasn't a hobby, it was a national security strategy, and the government printed the instruction manuals for it. These manuals are like ghosts whispering from the past. They tell a story of a time when people were expected to be capable. They detail ingenious methods for survival that rely on physics, not fragile electronics. Think about it. Gravity-fed water purification systems, thermal mass redirection for heating and cooling, and root cellar construction. These weren't just ideas, they were fully developed plans, tested and ready to be implemented in the average American home. The government spent millions figuring this stuff out. They knew that a resilient population was a strong population, able to withstand a crisis without collapsing into chaos. This was knowledge for the people, by the people. The real magic of these documents is how they empower the individual. They don't sell you a product, they give you a blueprint. They teach you how to see your own home not just as a place to live, but as a machine for survival. The walls, the floors, the yard, they all become part of a larger system you can control. This is the kind of information that has been almost completely erased from our modern consciousness. We've been taught to rely on external systems for everything. Water from the tap, heat from the thermostat, food from the store. We've forgotten that we have the power to provide these things for ourselves. So, let's dig up these ghosts. Let's pull these old manuals off the shelf and blow off the dust. The world has changed since the 1950s and 60s, but the laws of physics haven't. Water still flows downhill, the sun still produces heat. A crisis that takes down the grid today is just as real as the threat of one was back then. By unlocking this hidden knowledge, we're not just preparing for a disaster, we're reclaiming a fundamental part of our human heritage, the ability to adapt and survive using our own two hands, and the incredible power of our brains. So, where did all this knowledge go? It didn't just vanish, it was slowly and systematically replaced by something else: convenience. The modern world is a monument to ease. With the flip of a switch, we have light. With the turn of a knob, we have clean water. We press a button, and our homes are warmed or cooled to the perfect temperature. This comfort has become a kind of anesthetic, numbing us to the realities of where these resources actually come from. We outsourced our survival skills to giant faceless utility companies and complex fragile supply chains. We traded capability for comfort. This shift was driven by a powerful cultural and economic engine. Companies don't make money when you're self-reliant. There's no profit in teaching you how to filter your own water using gravel and sand. The real money is in selling you a subscription to a municipal water service, or a high-tech battery-powered filter that needs expensive replacement cartridges. The entire consumer economy is built on the idea that you need to buy a solution for every problem. This constant marketing has conditioned us to look for a product to purchase, not a skill to learn. We've become dependent consumers instead of capable producers. The educational system played a role too. Shop classes, home economics, and practical agricultural courses have been largely stripped from schools. They've been replaced with a focus on preparing kids for a digital, office-based world. We're taught how to code an app, but not how to build a fire. We learn about global economics, but not how to grow our own food. This isn't to say modern education is bad, but it has created a massive blind spot. We've produced generations of brilliant, technologically savvy people who might not know how to stay warm if the power goes out for a week. The result is a kind of collective amnesia. We've forgotten the fundamental skills that kept our ancestors alive for thousands of years. We see a problem like a power outage, and our first thought is, when will they fix it? We've forgotten that we have the power to create our own solutions. The old civil defense knowledge wasn't lost, it was buried under an avalanche of modern convenience, consumer culture, and a specialized education system that values abstract knowledge over practical hands-on capability. It's time to start digging it out. Let's talk about the most critical resource for survival: water. You can only last about 3 days without it. The old government manuals understood this, and they detailed a brilliant foolproof system for water purification that requires zero electricity, gravity, fed, filtracil der Untertrade der Anperburning. It's a simple concept that mimics the way nature cleans water. As water passes down through layers of soil, sand, and rock, impurities are physically trapped and filtered out. This system just recreates that process in a controlled way, using common materials you can find almost anywhere. It's a gift from the law of gravity. So how does it work? Imagine two buckets, one stacked on top of the other. The top bucket is where the magic happens. You drill a small hole in its bottom. Inside, you create layers. At the very bottom, over the hole, you place a layer of clean rocks or pebbles. On top of that, a thicker layer of coarse gravel. Then, a thick layer of clean sand. On top of the sand, you can add a layer of charcoal, which is fantastic for absorbing chemical contaminants and improving taste. Finally, another layer of sand and maybe a cloth to pre-filter out large debris. The bottom bucket is simply there to catch the clean filtered water. The reliability of this system is its true genius. There are no moving parts to break. There are no electronics to short out. It doesn't need batteries that will die. As long as gravity exists, it will work. You pour contaminated water from a stream, a rain barrel, or even a questionable pond into the top bucket, and gravity does all the work, slowly pulling the water down through the filtering layers. The process is slow, but it is steady and dependable. This is the kind of resilience you need in a crisis. You set it up once, and it provides you with life-sustaining water, day after day. This is the essence of physical redundancy. While your neighbor might have a fancy UV sterilizing pen that runs on batteries, what happens when those batteries die? Or what if the delicate electronics get wet and fail? They are left with no way to purify water. You, on the other hand, have a system that is as reliable as the Earth itself. It might not be as fast or as smart as a modern gadget, but it will not fail you. This simple, elegant solution, detailed in decades-old government documents, is one of the most powerful survival tools you can have. Surviving a crisis isn't just about water, it's also about regulating your core body temperature. The old manuals were obsessed with this, and they detailed a powerful passive technique called thermal mass redirection. The concept is beautifully simple. Use the mass of dense materials to absorb, store, and then slowly release thermal energy. In plain English, it means using heavy stuff like concrete, brick, stone, or even large containers of water to soak up heat when it's abundant, like from the sun during the day, and then radiate that heat back out when it's cold at night. It's nature's battery, and it runs on physics. The purpose of this is to stabilize the temperature inside your living space, without a furnace or an air conditioner. Your home's concrete foundation is a perfect example of thermal mass. In the winter, if sunlight can hit that slab through a south-facing window, the concrete will warm up all day. As evening falls, and the air temperature drops, the slab will slowly release that stored heat back into the room, keeping it warmer for hours after sunset. In the summer, you do the opposite. You shade the slab from the sun, keeping it cool. At night, you open the windows, and the cool night air chills the mass, which then helps keep the house cooler the next day. Practical implementation can be surprisingly simple. You don't need to rebuild your house. You can add thermal mass. A common technique described in old plans involves creating a solar wall. This could be as simple as painting a dozen 1-gallon jugs of water black and stacking them inside a south-facing window. The sun's energy will heat the water all day. At night, that stored heat radiates into your room. This is a low-tech, high-impact way to create a passive heating system. It's about cleverly redirecting the natural energy flows that are already happening around you. This is a game-changer in a grid-down scenario. While your neighbors are burning through precious firewood or huddling in sleeping bags, you are using the sun's free energy to create a more stable and comfortable environment. The same principles work for cooling. A modern, lightweight construction home will heat up and cool down rapidly, just like a tent. A home that incorporates thermal mass, however, has a thermal flywheel that resists rapid temperature swings. It's a more livable, more resilient shelter, and it works for free, day after day, powered by the sun and the fundamental properties of matter. The most profound lesson from these old manuals is the emphasis on systems that work without modern technology. They operate on the fundamental laws of physics, gravity, thermodynamics, and convection. This is a pretty radical idea in our hyper-connected world, where we are conditioned to believe that every problem requires a smart solution, an app, or a battery-powered device. The truth is, the most reliable systems are often the simplest. They are dumb, in the best possible way. They don't need software updates, an internet connection, or a charged battery. Their reliability comes from their simplicity. Think about the difference between a physical system and an electronic one. A gravity-fed water filter has maybe 5 components: 2 buckets, rocks, sand, and charcoal. An electronic water purifier has a circuit board, a battery, wiring, a UV bulb, and a plastic housing. Which one has more points of failure? Which one can you repair, with materials found in your backyard? The answer is obvious. The physical system is resilient because it is transparent and repairable. The electronic system is a black box. When it breaks, it becomes a piece of plastic junk. This principle extends beyond just water filters. It applies to heating, cooling, food storage, and sanitation. A root cellar uses the constant temperature of the earth to preserve food. A solar oven uses reflective surfaces to concentrate sunlight for cooking. A composting toilet uses natural decomposition to handle waste. None of these require a single watt of electricity. They are elegant solutions born from a deep understanding of the natural world. They represent true independence, freedom from the fragile, complex systems we've come to depend on. Embracing these physical systems is like unplugging from the matrix. It's a conscious choice to step away from a world of planned obsolescence and digital dependency. It's about building a foundation of resilience that doesn't rely on the grid being up or the store being open. In a long-term crisis, the person with a solar oven will be eating cooked meals long after the person with a microwave is out of luck. The family with a gravity-fed water filter will have safe drinking water long after the batteries for the fancy filter pen have died. This isn't about being anti-technology. It's about being pro-reality. Let's get practical. How do you actually implement these systems in a typical 21st century home? It's not about turning your house into a primitive hut. It's about making smart, strategic additions. Let's start with water. First, secure your collection method. This means installing rain barrels connected to your roof's downspouts. This is your raw water supply. Next, build the gravity-fed filter. Get 2 food-grade 5-gallon buckets. In the bottom of the top bucket, drill a 1/4-inch hole. In the lid of the bottom bucket, drill a larger hole for the filtered water to drip through. Then, layer your filter media. A few inches of clean gravel, 6 inches of coarse sand, and a foot of fine sand. Now, for thermal mass redirection. Your first step is to analyze your home's relationship with the sun. Identify your south-facing windows. These are your winter heat collectors. During cold months, make sure these windows are clean and unobstructed during the day to let sunlight hit your floors or any interior masonry walls. At night, cover them with heavy insulated curtains to trap the heat inside. For a more active system, get those gallon jugs, paint them black, fill them with water, and stack them where the winter sun will bake them all day. In the summer, do the reverse, use awnings or even a simple tarp to shade those same windows, preventing the sun from superheating your home. Next, consider food and waste. A simple enhancement is creating a pantry root cellar. This doesn't have to be a hole in the ground. Find the coldest, darkest, and most humid part of your house, usually a corner in the basement on the north side. You can insulate this area from the rest of the basement to keep it even colder, creating a microclimate perfect for storing root vegetables, apples, and canned goods for much longer. For sanitation, a basic twin bucket composting toilet system is a must-have. One bucket is for use, filled with a carbon material like sawdust or wood shavings. The second bucket is for storing the extra carbon material. It's a simple, odor-free, and sustainable way to manage waste when the toilets won't flush. Each of these steps is a layer of resilience. They are modular additions that you can implement over time. Start with the rain barrels. Next month, build the filter. The month after, create your thermal mass water wall. None of these projects are terribly expensive or complicated. They are about using your brain and a little bit of elbow grease to turn your modern house into a much more robust and self-sufficient homestead. You are retrofitting your home with the common sense that was once common knowledge, preparing it for a time when that knowledge is priceless. Imagine a severe ice storm hits. The power grid collapses across the region. Officials say it could be weeks, maybe longer, before it's restored. Let's look at two neighboring families. The first family, the Joneses, live in a standard modern home. They have a fridge full of food, smart thermostats, and filtered water from the tap. The second family, the Smiths, have quietly integrated the old civil defense strategies into their home. On the surface, their houses look identical, but as the days turn into a week, their realities begin to diverge dramatically. By day 3, the Joneses are in serious trouble. The food in their refrigerator and freezer has spoiled, the house is frigid, and they are burning through decorative candles for a tiny bit of light and warmth. Their bottled water supply is dwindling fast, and they are arguing about whether the water from the tap is safe to drink now that the municipal pumps are down. They huddle together in one room under all their blankets, their cell phones long dead. The comfort and convenience they took for granted has vanished, replaced by cold, hunger, and fear. Their high-tech home has become a cold, dark trap. Meanwhile, next door, the Smiths are operating in a different world. Their gravity-fed filter is steadily dripping clean water into a holding container, filled from their rain barrels. During the day, the sun streams through their south-facing windows, warming the dark water jugs and concrete floor. At night, this stored heat keeps their main living area from dropping to dangerously cold temperatures. They are cooking meals on a small solar oven during the day or a wood-burning stove at night. Their root cellar pantry is keeping their potatoes, onions, and apples fresh. They have light from oil lamps and a sense of calm control. The difference is not wealth or luck, it is knowledge and preparation. The Smiths understood that the grid was a single point of failure. They built in physical redundancies. The Joneses put all their faith in a system they didn't control. For them, the grid going down means life stops. For the Smiths, it's simply a shift in procedure. They transition from easy mode to manual mode. Their home continues to perform its core functions, providing shelter, warmth, and safe water, because its systems are not dependent on a fragile external network. This is the stark reality of resilience versus dependence. Let's zoom in on the human experience in this scenario. Before the crisis, life for the Jones family was effortless. Their thermostat kept the house at a perfect 72 degrees. Clean water was infinite and immediate. Food was a quick trip to the grocery store. Their world was predictable, comfortable, and completely dependent on systems they never saw or understood. Their sense of security was tied to the hum of the refrigerator and the glow of the television screen. They were, in a very real sense, living in a bubble of blissful ignorance about the fragility of their own existence. After the grid fails, their world is shattered. The silence is the first thing that hits them. No hum from the appliances, no distant traffic. Then comes the cold, a creeping, biting presence that gets into their bones. Simple tasks become monumental challenges. How do we cook? How do we flush the toilet? Where do we get water? Fear and stress become constant companions. The family dynamics fray as blame and anxiety take over. The house is no longer a home. It's a cold prison where they are simply waiting for rescue. Their previous life of comfort now seems like a distant, impossible dream. For the Smith family, the before picture was slightly different. They spent weekends installing rain barrels. They built their filter system. They weather-stripped windows. Their friends might have thought they were a little eccentric. They invested time and effort into learning skills and building systems that seemed unnecessary in the modern world. Their comfort was not just based on the grid being on, but on the knowledge that they could manage if it went off. Their security was internal, rooted in their own capabilities and the robust design of their home. After the grid fails, the Smiths' life changes, but it doesn't collapse. Their daily routine shifts. They now have chores. Haul water to the filter. Bring in wood for the stove. Plan meals around what's available from the pantry, but these are tasks of purpose, not panic. The family works together, each member knowing their role. There is a sense of empowerment and shared responsibility. Their home, which they work to improve, is now paying them back, protecting them and sustaining them. The contrast is clear. One family experiences a terrifying collapse of their world, while the other experiences a challenging but manageable transition to a more fundamental way of living. The wisdom hidden in these old government manuals is more than just a collection of survival tips. It's a philosophy. It's a declaration of independence from the fragile systems that have made us vulnerable. Rediscovering and applying these lost engineering secrets is about reclaiming a power that is rightfully ours. The power to provide for our own basic needs. in a world that pushes us to be passive consumers. Learning how to build a gravity-fed water filter or a passive solar heater is a revolutionary act. It's a vote for capability over convenience. These techniques, born from the existential threat of the Cold War, are more relevant today than ever. Our threats may have different names: cyber attacks, extreme weather, economic collapse, pandemics, but the result is the same: a breakdown of the complex systems we rely on. The solutions offered in these manuals are timeless because they are based on the unchanging laws of nature. They are the ultimate backup plan, the physical redundancy that can make the difference between thriving and just surviving, or worse. They are the hard-won wisdom of a generation that stared into the abyss and engineered a way to step back from the edge. By embracing this knowledge, we are not turning our backs on the modern world. We are simply making it stronger. A home with a rain barrel and a water filter is still a modern home. It just happens to be a more resilient one. A family that knows how to keep warm without a furnace is not primitive. They are prepared. This is about adding layers of self-sufficiency, creating a buffer between your family and a world of increasing uncertainty. It's about looking at your home and seeing not just a financial asset, but a life support system. So the next time you see a dusty old pamphlet from the 1960s, don't dismiss it as a relic. See it for what it is: a blueprint for freedom. It's a guide to transforming your home and your mindset. The knowledge is out there, waiting to be rediscovered. It's time to stop being passive dependents and start becoming the capable, resilient, and empowered individuals our ancestors were. The power to secure your family's future doesn't come from an app or a gadget. It comes from this ancient practical wisdom. It's time to learn it, apply it, and pass it on.